Hi everybody, welcome to Sorting Myself Out, and the following presentation is by a woman named Georgia who has taken it upon herself to travel to Africa and provide water filters to people in remote villages. They really need them, and it's a fun presentation. It covers her journey, it shows a slideshow, wonderful pictures, fun information about that journey as far as the culture that she was immersed in. And she has another trip coming up here in January of 2020, and she is trying to raise the money for the travel and to bring some people with her to install more water filters to villages. And I think it's a great service project. If you feel like donating, there is a link in the description, villagecareproject.com. Georgia is a wonderful woman, and we are just trying to support her with raising money for this cause. We think it's a good cause, and we hope you enjoy the presentation. Even if you are not going to make a donation, this presentation is interesting to say the least.
Anyway, the questions that I get asked the most about this project, which is Into Africa, it is now called Village Care Project, and Into Africa is just one of the things that's going to get started with, okay? Is how did I get started in this, okay? So this started out as a personal project, and I went on a wildlife photo safari with a bunch of photographers 3 or 4 years ago. And some of these pictures are from that trip. And when we were getting ready to go on the trip, they told me that we were going to go to a Maasai village, which was just a bucket list dream thing for me to do. And so I researched that, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I can take something with me, you know, just to give us gifts. Well, that kind of snowballed and escalated because I saw some women carrying these buckets on their head. And inside the buckets, there was this nasty pond, really filthy looking pond back there where I knew that they'd collected that water, and I thought, that can't be good for them. So I started thinking, okay, water filters like I take backpacking would be great. And those are little personal ones. So I ended up taking 50 of those to give to all the villagers, the adults. But it escalated into a community-sized water filter. And if I'd had more time, that prop would have been here with me. It's about this tall. The top, you pour the dirty water into the top. It filters through this lower area and then collects in the bottom. And then it also has a plunger that allows them to clean that filter every couple days, 2 or 3 days. So that is what it ended up taking. The next time I went, which was this last time, which is this trip, I went by myself. I wanted to do this again. And this time I also took, I ordered, and those filters, by the way, are delivered to my hotel. I have them shipped to me at the hotel, so they arrive in Africa when I get there. And then I clean them out and we take them. But anyway, the next time I went, I also took malaria nets because malaria is a huge problem over there. They get sick, and the mortality rate is 1 in 5 for children. It's terrible. So they don't even give them names because they're not sure they'll make up to 5 years old because of malaria. Okay, so that was a village that I went to, and they were bringing in the herd. This is my cat. She's very sad I'm leaving. Okay, so the gentleman with the green shirt, I took him some green shirts with their logos on them, because that's what I do. And he was my Maasai. He's a Maasai man. He was my translator for 2 of the villages. And those are the chiefs of this little village, the first one we went to. Okay, so this is the region I was in. That's Tanzania. They call it Tanzania. And that is the area of Tanzania that I went into. And I'm only saying Tanzania because I'm here with you guys. But that's the region. It was northern Arusha area. So I flew into Kilimanjaro Airport. I flew into Kilimanjaro Airport on Ethiopian Airlines. And this is after a 13-hour flight from in there. It's quite a trip to get there. It takes about 22 to 25 hours with layovers, depending on if you get the cheap flight. I got the cheap flight. It took me 30 hours. So you don't want to do that. So they get you out on the tarmac, and you walk into the airport, and you get your stuff, and you check in. My guides are there. I hired 2 guides to come pick me up, and I hired 2 translators. So the guides were there to pick me up, and this is the lodge that I stayed in the first night. It's called Oasis. Just a little, kind of like yurts, you know, very similar to yurts. And they had a little breakfast restaurant. It was very wonderful food. Quite honestly, it was delicious. This is my little yurt. and some African art. This is a Maasai gourd that they carry water in. So my guides came the following morning, and I'm speeding this up a little bit, okay? My guides came the following morning, and we packed up I took 3 water filters this time with me on this one, and then there's 2 of them inside in the back. And then we went through Arusha. This is just a woman, creative woman, going out selling. I mean, the poverty level there is huge. So you have to deal with that a bit. These are tuk-tuks. This is part of their culture. They drive these around to get around. A lot of bicycles, a lot of motorcycles. Motorcycles are huge. Public bus transportation is huge, especially for some of the villagers like the Maasai, because they just don't have vehicles, you know. And yet there are vehicles, but there's just not a lot. Just some school kids at a bus stop. They kind of frown on you. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be pointing this thing. Okay, so that first morning, we spent the whole morning, and it takes the whole morning, to go to the factory to pick up the textile, the malaria nets. We got them in bales, and this factory employs 7,000 people in the local area. So we are supporting the local people by buying them here, and not just having them brought in. And so anyway, in between all the little villages and sections, I have my wildlife pictures. And these are pictures taken in the area and over 2 trips. Some of them I don't know what that bird is. This is a vervet monkey. He came and visited me and sat with me, and he had 2 little siblings. They were very cute. This is the first wild giraffe I ever saw, and there was a whole herd of them up on the hill. I made everybody get out. We had to stop and take pictures of that. And this is there's lots of villagers, wildlife in the area. So anyway, this is the Mawata village. My guides had a gift for me. This was my gift for coming and doing this project. They took me to their village, which is called the Mawata village. This was one of the more affluent villages, okay? They have cinder block homes, and they have roofs on their cinder block homes. They actually have, these are nice homes for these guys. And the women came out and greeted me. And they escorted me back in, and they were chanting and singing the whole time from the vehicle. And then they started dancing for me. They had me sitting in a seat of honor, which is only about this big. And then another group came in, and this took all morning. So it was quite an event. I felt very honored. And this little thing right here, let me show you this. I didn't know what I was doing, but this is what you do. They invited me to dance, so. The woman in red is Jackson's mother. Jackson is one of my guides. He and his brother Eric. Yeah, you got to get the shoulder action going. And the more I did that, the more they laughed and cracked. The women did that thing. So anyway, it was fun. And I don't know where the next one is. Let's see. These were gifts that they presented to me. It's this right here. It's called a shuka. You wrap it around yourself. The woman made it. She made me the hat. She made me a cup. She made me a pot. She made me a necklace. She made me bracelets. This woman is amazing. She's so talented. She made Grandma a hat too. These people don't have much, so when they do stuff like this, it's huge. It's truly, anything, it's just amazing. So, okay, one more real quick one, and these guys have a very unusual style of dance. Lots of shoulders. They got me in there, and I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, okay. For them to have matching shirts, that's huge. These people, they just, I gave them a whole bunch of malaria nets for their village, and we're going to give them more when I go back, hopefully. They loved it that I danced with them. I don't know what they thought I was going to do just to be some rigid person, but so anyway. Okay, so that was fun. Then we went to the place where I was going to stay that night. Is it called Singawi Lodge? And this was on the way. This village actually has a well, because they are kind of they stay in one place. A lot of the villages that I went to, they don't stay in one place. They're gone. They stay as long as the water's there. They stay. If the water's gone, they leave. So yeah, this is what I would like to do, but it's kind of impossible in the places where I go. So this is the lodge that I stayed in. It's just a canvas tent on stilts with a roof. And it was quite nice inside. And then I had breakfast. Once again, lovely breakfast buffet. I don't have pictures of that. These were my two guides, Jackson and Eric. They're considered brothers, but in our country, they're actually first cousins. The reason for that is because their fathers were twins. So all the siblings of twins are brothers and sisters. And they called each other's fathers father. So they have two fathers, basically. It's kind of interesting. So went into Tarangire National Park, which is right next to this lodge, and wildlife is amazing there. And I got a lot of the pictures from this area. This is a gazelle and their baby. We were in there, it's around springtime, so there were a lot of babies all over the place. And this is the male of gazelle. He has the whole herd there. It's his herd. Only one male to the whole herd. Some zebras, wildebeests all over the place. It's kind of a starling. It's an African starling. Baboons with her baby. They were at the entrance to the park where we came in. This is a big male. Their canines are like that big. You don't mess with them. And you also make sure your vehicles are locked and you have nothing loose on your body. No sunglasses, no cameras, nothing loose, because they'll steal it. They'll come up and take it right out, and then they're up in the tree and gone. So you don't you don't mess with them, and they're also kind of dangerous. So be careful around the baboons. There was a huge herd of elephants there. There were not just one herd. There was multiple huge herds. It was an amazing place. This is called a Kori bustard. It's the largest bird that can fly in the world. Yeah, and they eat a lot of snakes and stuff. They're great snakes. So this is a giraffe family, obviously. These are ring-necked vultures, just like you see on the cartoons when you're growing up. So the next village is the Namborgos Maasai village in the Natron Lake area, which is kind of north. That big mountain back there is that one that we saw in the first picture. It's called Mount Oldanyo Lenge, and which means home of God in Maasai. And it's an active volcano. It went off 10 years ago. Yeah. So our guides, we found a small village. This is a small village project, okay? A small village where they really needed stuff like this, and we unloaded, and we met the villagers, and we met the chief. The chief decides pretty much everything for the village. If he allows photography, you can have photography. Anybody. You don't even have to ask anymore. It's just given permission. So this is Grandma. The woman with the white hat is the chief's wife. First wife, I say. They are allowed multiple wives. The women are only allowed one man, but you're allowed multiple wives. The beginning, when I first get there, they're looking at me like, what do you want, white woman, tourist? You know, and then after, by the end of this, every village, all smiles. You can do whatever you want. You can walk through the village. You can go inside the houses. Yeah, they invite you in and treat you to things. So I'm trying to explain who I am and what I'm doing, and the translator is translating. And got a quick picture of the villagers before we got started. They're starting to be happy because they're standing out there in the heat. It's 95 degrees, and realizing that they're going to get some stuff. it's kind of neat. So we start assembling these water filters. These two young little boys in the front, those are called junior Morans. A Moran is a warrior, so they're junior Morans. They have to go through a thing, and when they wear black for a while, and then their mom goes out and builds them a hut way away from the village. They have to survive by themselves out there. They're allowed to come in the village, and they still do the herding and stuff, herding of the cattle and the sheep, not the sheep, but the goats. But they have to go through a process, and when they're about 18, then they'll go through a ceremony, which isn't pleasant, and I think they get circumcised. And they can't show any emotion. They have some strange cultures. One of the things, though, when I go there is I know that they don't believe in my culture. I don't believe in their culture. They don't believe in mine. We have different religions, but I go with respect, and I don't try to change them. I'm not trying to preach to them or anything like that, or try to change them anyway. I'm just trying to help them. So that's what I do. So anyway, we realized there was no water to put into the water filters, so the chief sent somebody out to get this particular village actually has a river flowing fairly nearby, so they sent them off to get some water, and we are digging into the malaria nets and passing those out while we're waiting for water. So it was a big moment. Everybody started laughing because it's like, where's the water? So we're passing out malaria nets. I have to explain to them how to use them. I give them bales of string to put inside their huts so that they can hang them. And I have to explain about the plastic bag that it's being carried in so that they don't let their children play with plastic bags, and that the plastic bags have a little chemical on them because these are treated bags. I pay a little more for that. So that they last, and the treatment lasts about 5 years, but they can still use the nets even after that. But it's just explaining to the chief what's going on, how to use the water filter, and demonstrating it now. It's my translator in the back, trying to explain how to use that plunger that cleans the filter out. Right there, see that red handle? So if you don't have a translator, that's a very difficult concept to explain to them. So anyway, the women went, after we kind of did all that, the women went and dug out handmade necklaces that they had, and they gave them to us as gifts. And like I said, this is huge. They make cash off of those. They go into town and try to sell them for $5, $10 a piece, and to give them as gifts is it's just, it's an honor. So I felt very honored. That's the chief's wife's mother, and once again, she was very active in getting that. They even gave them to my guides, and they were just floored, especially the young man on the left, Jackson. He is not from his villagers and tribal does not go along. They don't get along with the Maasai very well. If you ask him, do you get along? No. He was kind of scared to go there. Historically, they were very warlike, and they did not get along at all. I mean, like kill each other type get along. So anyway, this is kind of the end of that. We didn't stay real long, but the little girl came and brought water, and so this is why I did this. This is what it was about for me in the beginning. It's like, look at that crappy water. And all the bugs floating around it. And there was a tadpole in the bottom. I mean, just, So the chief's wife did the honors and got us started, and she's pouring in the water through the top has a little white pre-filter that filters out the big debris. And then you can see the little bugs. And then from there, it goes down into the real filter. It collects in that top light blue area and then goes down through the dark blue area and then collects in the bottom. So we put one of those in the school also. And after they're shipped to me, there's right around 400 a piece. So gathering the clean water, it's bacteria free and all the bad stuff's out of there. And I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to be able to explain that to you, but I just know this is clean water and this is what they need to be drinking. So they're very happy to have that. And then they invited us to come back in the evening because, we're now friends, and got to go inside their huts and stuff. And And the little children were all over me, wanting to hold my hand. They were very cute. And the chief's wife is my best friend now. And this is just some villagers, and I love these people. I truly do. Every village I come away from, they're all totally unique. Every village I've been to has been just its own personality. This is Grandma with her. She wanted to show off her little baby. She has a baby burro. And then the woman in the back invited us to come over. Oh, and this is one of those Moran boys, Junior Morans, and they're in charge of all the cattle and sheep. And this is his little group that he's in charge of, these baby. They're all, what do you call these, Brahma bulls. They're very good at living off of practically nothing. There's hardly any grass out there. So the children are real cute, and they're running and playing. There's that big volcano in the back. Some woman getting water to put in the filter. This woman was very interesting. She invited me over to see her inside her house, and she's got this thing called a calabash. It's a gourd, and you stuff it full of all these sticks that she had. They were all on fire, and she'd take each stick individually and for like 20 minutes sterilize the inside of that gourd before she went and milked her goats. And that's what she did. She wanted to show me that. So that's a calabash. And oops, sorry. Anyway, that's that volcano, and the herd coming in that night. They invited us to come see this. That was pretty neat and very special. So here's some more giraffes, a little wildlife. These are in between the villages.
You didn't get out of your car for that one.
I didn't get out. They don't let you get out of the car at all in the national parks. There's just too many of these guys running around. Yeah, this one had cubs. He was very affectionate with his cubs, and they were all over him, crawling all over him. I can't remember what this thing's called, but she's pregnant. Not sable, something else. I have to think about that. This is a female gibbon. She's got a piece of fruit. And the males are black. A herd of elephants in the Serengeti area. It was very kind of right in the middle of the day, so the lighting is kind of harsh. Some zebras at Lake Menyara. Hippos in all of the water systems. You have to be very careful between the hippos and the alligators. This is the #1 deadliest animal in the world. It's killed more people than anything. And they'll just grab you and pull you in and you're dead.
Nice shot.
Thank you. Young male lion. This woman is a young Maasai gal, and when you want to take pictures of Maasai that are not in villages that have given you the chief's permission, you get out and you ask permission, and then you give them some Tanzanian shillings. So we're going to have to take some Tanzanian shillings, Eric, on the next trip. And anyway, she's gathering water, and since I'm doing water project, I wanted to take a picture of her. This is one of the ways they get around. Some hyenas. Lots of hyenas and jackals, wild dogs and stuff. When you get into a tent camp situation, you pretty much have to have an escort from the Maasai warrior to take you to and from your tent at night, sometimes even in the day. The baby giraffe getting a bath. Okay, so the next village is called the Hasdab village. And I don't know if you guys are old enough, some of you are not old enough to know what Twilight Zone was, but that's what it was like for me. Doobie, 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 doobie. Truly. I walked into this village, and I swear it was like walking back into time. If a dinosaur had walked through here, I wouldn't have been surprised. These people had baboon wraps. They're hunter-gatherers. They are not Maasai at all. They're called Hasdab. And they hunter-gatherers. The women go out and gather food and water and fruits and anything that they can find out in the wild. The men are hunters. They go out and they hunt baboon. They take these dogs with them. They make all of their own weapons and their bows and their arrows and their spears. And that's my guide putting on the baboon hat, which they also put on me. And just sitting around. The men are in the cave. The women are not with them. The women are gathered off somewhere else. They were expecting us, so they kind of knew that. I think they expected us to go hunting with them, but we had these things to give them, so that ended up taking more time than we thought. But truly, caveman, and yet delightful people. They are very carefree. They don't have a lot of rules, and you can tell, and it's it's kind of freeing. I really liked it. So, like I said, they make their own bows and arrows, and the only thing modern about them were some jeans and some flip-flops. Check out that axe. Can you see that axe in that picture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there it is up close. Truly, I was floored. I didn't know people kind of, I guess I expected this maybe down in the Amazon, but not in this area. So we're gathering around and discussing the fact that we're going to go gather water. And usually men don't do this, okay? So to have them join us and do this was kind of a thing. And of course they all wanted to have their picture taken. Unlike the Maasai, they were totally different kind of personalities. I just loved it. But they wanted, all of them wanted to be in the picture. Then we decided, okay, so we're all going to go down after fooling around for a while, go down and gather water. And the women lead the way, and this is what we did to gather water. Yeah, we dug holes. So everybody dug holes and then started collecting this water. Yeah, wow, can you imagine? How many times during the day do you go and turn on the faucet? They don't have that. They don't have any plumbing. They don't have clean water. Look at the water, it's filthy. The only thing about that is it doesn't have as many bacteria because it's being filtered through the dirt. So it doesn't have as bad as stuff, even though it's filthy looking. It's full of sand and stuff. It's not as deadly, you know, as some villagers, but it's still nasty. It doesn't taste good. And they were so excited to have this and to have their water clean and not be just horrible. This is the water that we gathered. And so then one of the guides started getting out the malaria nets also. And that gentleman was an elder that kind of I did a lot of stuff with. I think he might have been granddad. He might have been like the chief elder. I don't know. But anyway, you can't see. So we're starting to put the water filters together, and I'm assembling it and kind of talking as I'm going. And there's a translator back out of the picture there that's trying to discuss how to do this with them. So the elder starts to do what he's been told, and they have a language at this particular village that goes da 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 da, and it's just, you know, even their names have a in them. So it's very unusual language. I had to find a special translator for this village. I'm getting out the malaria nets. Everybody wants one, even the little kids. Boy, everybody just jumped in there and wanted to get their malaria net. So we you have to walk away. You pour the water in, you walk away. So that's why the malaria nets are also helpful, because it takes a little bit of time for that to come down and filter through. And you know, everybody's impatient and wanting to have some clean water to drink, but it just takes a little bit of time. So we put 2 or 3 buckets in there and then waited, and he got to try the first one. And I wish that we had the picture that went after this, because he had this big smile on his face. It's like, yes! So I was very happy. I just don't have that. So anyway, his young son, the chief, took us into the village. He invited us into the village after that, and this is his home. That's his home. There's nothing in it. There's no clothing. There's no furniture. There's nothing inside these houses. So now they have a water filter inside there. And their little dogs. Yep, that's the house inside. And they sleep on the ground. So I was told a couple months back, I asked how they're doing with the malaria nets and everything, and they said they love them. It helps keep the snakes and the scorpions out too. So I'm going, oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah. Okay, so then as we're departing, because we don't want to stay, they don't stay too long because they have things to do. They have a lot to hunt and gather for their day. They took us to a little clearing where they had some things that they sell. They do get a few tourists that come through, and they try to sell things to them. They have pipes, and the pipes, they actually have natural growing marijuana in the area, so they do a little bit of that going on there. And then they make their beads and their dolls and spoons and pipes and This is a gourd that, I don't know what it's for, but they make gourds. And then they sell these little bows and arrows. So this is kind of, you know, a little bit of the commercialism is it going to be at all the villages, because they try to get some cash, you know, to buy things. So kind of to be expected. But they were not obnoxious. They didn't even ask me if I wanted to buy them. They just said, there, look, there you go. They didn't, you know, some of them are a little bit more aggressive about trying to sell stuff. It's like going to Mexico a little bit. But anyway, so then they did this dance in honor of us, and it was, you know, like I said, anytime they do something like this, these people are very poor, then you should just take it in the spirit, and this is a great honor. My guides jumped in and joined them. I'm taking the picture. Very upright. The guy in the white, he wants to go down and do his, you know, his Mwadi thing. But they're very upright, so it's just kind of a totally different style of dancing. So, and then we had to have a group picture at the end. Everybody wanted to be in that. So, and Grandma even ran and jumped in front of me, and she wanted to be in the picture too. Everybody wanted to be in the picture. It was pretty cool. This is where I stayed that night. A couple other nights I actually stayed in a tent, a real tent, and in a beautiful grassy thing with trees. But this is where I stayed that night, in the Maasai village. And this is the inside, so it was quite nice. This is pretty luxurious in this area. Had solar power. Wi-Fi for 1 hour. That's about it. But the lights are solar. So, and there's a little bathroom in the back, which is also very nice. If you ever go to Africa, make sure you have a roll of TP with you, because they don't provide it in a lot of places except the lodges. If you're out and about and you stop somewhere to go to the toilet, there won't be any TP. They don't know what to do with it. And a lot of times they don't even have sit-down toilets. It's just a hole in the floor. So, yeah, that situation's not the greatest. Those are little warthogs, little family warthogs. Zebras, waterbuck. This is a young male waterbuck. They're kind of like our elk, very similar. This is a big bull giraffe who just stood right over our safari vehicle. This is a rare sight. It's an albino baboon, male. He was eating fruit from those trees. That's a baobab tree in the back. It's absolutely huge. It's as big as this thing right here, and these elephants are standing next to it. Look how smaller they are. A little baby elephant. My first baby elephant. I'm very proud of her. And she actually tried to come and see us, but Mama just had a fit. And she was flapping her and doing her trunk, and boy, she was mad. So anyway, she got in trouble, that little baby. Some baboons out in the field they have a little baby there too, in there. This is a big bull elephant. This is that same herd. These are in the Tarangire area. That's a national park, and no, you can't get out of the vehicles to do anything. The tops of the vehicles, most of them, like ours, the thing lifts up and it gives you like a little, some of them have a shade, some of them just open up, but you can shoot out the top. So anyway, that matriarch elephant she's the boss of the whole herd. This is her herd, not the male. They're not in charge. They live off by themselves, and they just come around to fool around. Anyway, this is some ostriches. The males are the black ones, and the females are brown. So that's three little couples. Warthog. Lots of elephants. This one had a big chunk of meat right over here underneath this tree. He was guarding that the females had brought to him. Once again, females are the hunters in the lion world. Vervet monkey, practically in my lap. This is a mongoose. There was a whole bunch of them, but they moved pretty fast. It's really hard to get a picture of a mongoose. Some more baboons. This thing in the front is a termite mound, and they're all over the place. And the baboons are in the back. I just did this so you could see this termite mound. It's a bull elephant. Some more wildebeests. Some kind of a raptor. I haven't figured out what it is yet. Baby zebra. Another giraffe family. Early in the morning. We're another woman gathering water from that river. And she's got her jerry cans there and her baby. And this was in the river with her. It's a big boar. He's got wattles, huge giant wattles, those things on his face. Another big baobab tree. I'm just standing there to show you kind of how big it is. Yeah, it actually they had found some poachers hanging out inside that thing. So this is my lion picture. It's here somewhere too. Another vervet monkey, waterbuck, zebra. I think that's a duplicate. This is called a Kirk's dik-dik. It's only about this big. Little tiny little antelope. And this is his mate. They're always together. They mate for life. So if you see one, look for the other one. And this is that lion. He's got his brother hanging around here somewhere, and that's the one that was in that picture over there that's greeting head to head that she was asking about. In Africa, they have alligators, not crocodiles. Where are crocodiles from? Southern Florida. Southern United States, southeast United States. Everything else is crocodile.
Wait, the alligator.
Do I have it backwards?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah, it's alligators in everywhere else, except here in southeastern United States. So, okay. This is a craned. It's a. I can't think of the name. It's got that thing on his head. I'm sorry, I can't think of what it's called. So, anyway, they're beautiful, and these are the two brothers greeting. Baby giraffe. Chameleon that was in the road that I got out of the vehicle for, which I'm not supposed to do, to get the chameleon out of the road so it wouldn't get hit. A meerkat. They have meerkats, lots of them. Elephants. This is a big old bull. Big old bull in the Ngorongoro crater. Yeah, this is a cheetah. I actually have several, but this is my best one. And this shows you the size of the elephant. Somebody was asking earlier, how big are the elephants? Well, they're big. The rhinos are getting more and more rare, so it's quite a treat to see one, due to poaching mostly. Young male lion with his pride. Sable, that's a sable. Antelope. Wildebeests. Secretary bird. Secretary bird from a distance. They're almost 2 feet tall. They're pretty tall. They're great hunters, snakes and reptiles and stuff. How am I doing on time? Okay. Another little meerkat just sitting there. Grant's gazelle. And this is one of the boys going off into the Serengeti. I was there during the Great Migration, so it was pretty amazing. Thousands of wildebeests and zebras and gazelles. These are the junior morans, another bunch of them that I saw, and the thing on the head is just paint, and just decorative paint to indicate. If you listen real quietly, you can hear the wildebeest. Sounds like frogs almost. So that's part of the migration. These are just some, these guys are kind of cute. I'll show them quick if I have time. Saw a lot of lions. But they're not in all the parks. There are hardly any of them in the Tarangire area. You have to go into the Ngorongoro and up into the Serengeti to see all these. And these areas are all within like 4 or 5 hours of each other, so it's pretty neat. Lots of giraffe in most of the parks. This is a baby rhino, well, not baby, but a young rhino, standing in a muddy wallow. This is part of the Serengeti. The last villages that I went to was the Datoka village. This is a kind of a Maasai people. but they're just called Datoga, and they're famous for their metal work. Anyway, they make all their own dresses, and these women and I are going to go and gather water together. She got a gourd, another gal bought a bucket, and these are the chief's wives, by the way, so they're kind of in charge of me. And once again, we dig holes in the river bottom to gather water. And then she filled that thing up, and she wrapped it around her. She took one of her shukas and wrapped it around her, and it was in the back. And she filled the top, stuffed the top with grass to plug it so it wouldn't leak. So anyway, they were very lovely ladies. I enjoyed them a lot. I don't know how she got that thing on her head. It must weigh 30 pounds. It was just very heavy, and she's not that big. So as you can see, that lady having the little gourd in the back. So they wanted their pictures taken. And then when we got back to the village, this young man was making, I think he was making an arrowhead. And so just a real quick little clip. I didn't stay very long, but I knew this is what they're famous for, so I went there. The chief gave me a metal bracelet as a gift, and it was very nice, and I don't have it now. So anyway, but yeah, it was lovely. And then these are the things that they make. And so the first village, or that second village, the caveman village, this is where they get their metal, their metal arrowheads and axe heads and stuff like that. This is the village that they go to. So anyway, we're starting to assemble the water filters, and the villagers are starting to gather. This is the water that we collected, and this is their chief, and he was quite a sweet man, and he wanted to. I think he wanted another wife. No, I'm just joking. But he was very affectionate. So anyway, gave him these malaria nets, and the other thing is because it's an honor to do this, I give the malaria net. I pull it out because I'm the one gifting it, and then I give it to him, and then he distributes it. Not me. I don't do it. It's not the best way to do it. Otherwise, they just kind of jump in and start grabbing. So if the chief does it, he knows who's been given a malaria net, and we went in and put one up in one of the huts to show them how to do it and how to string it and then pull it down during the daytime. So these guys actually had beds kind of inside their huts. It's usually divided into, well, these guys, this particular village, they have square houses, long houses. So, no, I'd never seen them before. Usually they're round mud huts, or that are divided into like three, one for the man and one for the woman and children, and one for cooking. And they're very smoky inside and dark. There's no windows, there's nothing. It's very poor ventilation. But anyway, these guys have square houses. I'd never seen them before. I was just astounded. So we're all taking pictures and saying goodbye, and then we're leaving, and these are right outside their little village. They're big bull Brahma bull. And those are the huts that we saw. And like I said, they're square. That's just not the norm. And they're divided, the long ones are divided into rooms. And when you're walking through, you don't look and stare in each other's houses. It's just not considered, polite or anything like that. So anyway, this is going back into Arusha. We're headed back to the airport, and this young man was herding his cows, and those were little cinder block homes. So as you get closer into town, they get a little bit more modern. And just walking out to the plane and heading home, and it was an amazing trip, and hoping to do it again in January. I took all the pictures except I gave my guides a little point and shoot so that they could take the pictures of the actual activities and stuff that went on, where I'm in them. So that's how the rest of the pictures are mine.
Thank you, Georgia.
Yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Taking this around and showing to places and trying to raise the money to take her next trip. So.
Yeah, yeah.
How often do the filters need to be replaced?
They'll last up to about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
Yeah, and I'm hoping to take 2 replacement filters with me on the next one. And the problem is finding that village. The very first village that I went to. Yeah, I don't know, but they've got 2 of them there, one in their school and one in their community, and I would like to go back and